Now, if any of you know anything about Marvel or Stan Lee, it's probably from the famous movies that have been coming out recently. But let's take a look before that, before Marvel was such a big and popular company. This was Marvel before Stan Lee, before he was in charge. Marvel has been around for a long time. It was made in the 1930s, and before Stan Lee, they were even using Captain America as World War II propaganda. Yeah, fighting Nazis and all that. Stan Lee joined Marvel when he was about 18, 19 years old. He was an intern for the two main writers there, and they were okay for a while. But then things got tough, so the editors left and left Stan Lee alone with the company. What Stan Lee did next really shaped Marvel and what it is today, and what it will always be. Yep, this is the guy that owns one of the biggest companies in the entire world. Stan Lee married Joan Lee in 1947, when Stan was just starting to make a name for the company of Marvel. They also had a daughter named J.C. Lee, and Stan continued to help his family while making more and more comics. Before Stan even became an intern for Marvel Comics, it was known as Atlas Comics, and they produced not even mainly superhero comics. But when Stan Lee joined, he called it Marvel Comics, and that stuck with the editors. So they switched their focus onto superhero comics and continued as Marvel Comics, and thus the name was born. Stan began to make more superheroes like Spider-Man, Iron Man, and the Hulk, but what now made these characters different was that they were human. They had problems, flaws, good days and bad days, which made them more relatable to the public, which boosted the sales by comics very high. One of these such heroes, and one of Stan Lee's personal favorite heroes, was Spider-Man. Spider-Man was just a normal teenager that got bullied all the time, but when he got superpowers, that all changed, and he learned with great power comes great responsibility. This boosted the comics to a wider audience, and made it so that it could be more relatable to people, and they could connect to these characters. Comic book sales were in depression from around 1959 to 1961, but everything changed when Stan Lee created Fantastic Four, and showed people that comics should not only be about the superhero beating the bad guy, but also about the person under the mask. Stan Lee was the catalyst for the change in how people view comics, not only back then, but today too. Now comics are a big business. Innovations in technology and animation have brought Stan Lee's characters to life, and made characters like this turn into characters like this. Some complain that movies and video games are taking people away from the comics, but I think it makes people want to read the books more because they want to find out how these characters started and where they came from. This action is making comic books have a much wider audience. Stan Lee really changed how we view comic books by making them more relatable and captivating wider audiences. He even expanded how we view pop culture by making it easier for people to get interested in all these new things coming out in the world. It's amazing how much he's changed the world without any of you guys probably realizing it. He changed pop culture as we know it. Through his characters, he inspired many, including me, to follow their passion no matter how many tell you not to. Personally, I just want to thank Stan Lee for making me who I am today. If it was not for his amazing characters that I remember so fondly, I would be a totally different person. In the words of Stan Lee,
Excelsior!